working with the Board of Education, helping them to coordinate the search for a new superintendent. I want to begin by thanking you for being here tonight. It's a night where you could probably be doing a number of other things, but we're really glad that you decided to be with us tonight. Let me tell you a little bit what we're going to do. We're going to have an opportunity to meet each of the three candidates. We're going to take about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever time you need to ask your questions. The candidates are rotating tonight. One candidate is with us right now. One is across the hall with a combined community and staff team. And of course, the third candidate is down meeting with the board. So we will do that rotation at 6, 7, and 8 o'clock. You're going to need to stick with us if you want to see each of the candidates. So get comfortable, and we have snacks out behind the theater, so at break, go back, help yourself with anything you might like. Each of you should by now have a feedback form. I have 3 forms. I've got the other 2 up front. They're color-coded. The candidate's name is on top. If you could fill out that information for us, it will be helpful. The board will get that feedback and factor that information into the eventual selection. So it's more than just a sit and get here. We want your feedback, so please use the forms, and I'll pass the other ones out as the other candidates come in. Real quickly, this is how we're going to do this. We'd like you to come to the front, so you could actually move up a little bit if you want to save steps, because we're recording this, so the board members who are meeting with other candidates would have an opportunity to see the candidates and hear their responses. So we'd like you to come up and ask your question into the microphones. If you want to give us your name, that's wonderful. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. We're more interested in your question. You can ask about anything you want. I mean, there are certain things in this kind of a forum we can't ask. You can't ask about, personal questions about family, religion, those kinds of things. And if somebody would ask a question that maybe should not be asked, I'll probably pop up and, clarify that. But otherwise, we're pretty much open for your questions. Please understand that none of the 3 candidates have any inside information, so you have to keep the questions somewhat general in nature. They've been here for an interview. They've all done their homework on the website and the state's report cards and the state's database. So they know a lot about the district, but they don't know anything about real specific issues that might be taking place within the system. So please keep that in mind. We're in a school. You don't have to raise your hand. Just come on up to the microphone, and the candidates will respond to your questions. Real quickly, we had 27 completed applications for the position. That's a good number. I've been doing this for 10 years for the association, and it's a really strong number. The field of candidates looking for the superintendent's position is not what it once was. There aren't as many candidates, but we're really pleased with the strength of our field. In fact, we normally interview 6 candidates in the opening round, and we talked to 8 candidates this time around. So the board is really searching for the best possible person. We have 3 here tonight, and hopefully a final decision will be made based upon your input, the other interviews, and the previous work done by the board. I have done criminal, financial, and educational background checks. All of that checks out, so we don't have to worry about any of those kinds of things. The board has conducted a number of reference calls. Those aren't issues that you need to concern yourself with. We just want to hear your questions. With that, I think I've covered most of what I try to remember to say. So if you are comfortable coming closer, that would be great, but if not, if you'd come forward, and maybe what I'll have to do is move the microphones back a little bit. But we are going to begin tonight with our first candidate. The candidates will give a brief overview of their career, where they are right now, and anything else they might want to talk to you about. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce our first candidate tonight, and her name is Annette Newman. Annette, welcome to Shawano.
Should I give you all time to move forward? If I told you that there was candy and prizes in the front? I'd be lying, but no, just teasing. Thank you. As you're moving forward, I'll tell you a little bit. So when I was principal at De Pere High School, we have an auditorium that's very much like this, and I would have my staff meetings in the auditorium, and they would all sit near the back as well. And literally, I would put candy or some type of T-shirt or something in the front, hoping that eventually it would catch on and they'd all want to sit closer to the front. But thank you very much for being here this evening. I know that you all lead busy lives, and summers can be very hectic. And there are so many other things that you probably would like to be doing this evening, but what an important role that the school board has in choosing your next superintendent, and I am honored and thrilled that they believe that I would be a good fit for you. I began my career in education as an English teacher in the Stevens Point Area Senior High, or SPASH, as many of you probably know, and I was there for 3 years. When I was back home, which is in Waupaca, Wisconsin, having dinner with my family, my principal, when I was in high school, saw me there, and he said, Annette, you have your teaching degree now, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, Ms. Nispel is retiring, and I need a volleyball coach. Would you want to come back and teach in Waupaca? I applied, and I went to Waupaca for a few years and taught. At that interview, Bruce said to me, you know, Annette, I think you'd make a really good administrator. No, I'm enjoying too much in the classroom. I'm really having a great time in the classroom. A year and a half later, I had my administrative degree, and I went to De Pere High School, just outside of Green Bay. I was an assistant principal in De Pere for 4 years, and then I took the principalship, and I was there for a total of 13 years in De Pere. Loved, loved, loved the role that I played in De Pere for 13 years. Got to know the community very well, made a lot of partnerships, and really, I believe, helped move the high school, the students' goals forward, as well as the staff at De Pere High School. When I was there, my superintendent, Dr. Ben Villarule, said, you know, Annette, you've accomplished some great things, but so what's next? And it's not like I didn't have my own goals, but they always put these little bugs in my ear. And I said, I'm not sure. I said I wanted to be an assistant for a couple of years and then move into the principalship. And he said, I think you should go get your license, be a superintendent. And you know, sometimes I would look at what Ben was doing and some of the things that were happening, I'd be thinking, I'm not sure. Went and I started taking the classes, fell in love with it, and now I am currently in the Columbus School District, where I am finishing my 4th year, about to begin my 5th year, and have really come to really love and enjoy the community that I live in, that the students and parents, that we are working together to achieve lots of different goals. And so that's a little bit about my career and what has brought me here today. But you know, it's not about, Simon Sinek says it's not about what you do. People don't care so much about what you do, but why you do it. I have had a passion for so many years to work with children and for public education. When I was 16 years old, I started working at a camp in food service. And I had the bug because I saw the counselors and working with those counselors, and I thought, working with kids, that's my passion. That's where I need to be. And so I became a preschool teacher. I didn't have a certification or a license, but when I had my little ones, I was working as a preschool teacher. And then I went to the public school, and I became an office clerk / aide in the classroom. And I had my little kids yet. And then I thought, I can do this. I want to be a teacher. So I went back to school, and I became a high school English teacher. I worked at SPASH, as I said, in Waupaca High School, and I was also a volleyball coach and a track coach. I was joking earlier that I successfully coached the state champion my first year of coaching. She was a sophomore at SPASH, and through the years, I successfully coached her down to 6th place. That's my claim to fame. But it was just about working with kids, and I have enjoyed doing it for so long. I have worked in so many different capacities that are incorporated within a school district, and I feel like I'm really well-rounded and know what each of those roles represent in a school district, and in the district. A little bit about, so you're probably wondering, and maybe this is going to be somebody's question, so I'll answer it. Why Shawano? Why do you want to come here? Well, first of all, the community support that you all show to your students and your staff and this district is amazing. And I know you're probably wondering, what do we all do? But it's really not that way in every community. And so you should be so proud of what you have and what you do for your kids. It's very apparent. And when I was looking to different districts and saying, where do I want to be? That is number one in my book. The district is the heart. Your schools are the heart of your community. And it's very clear to me that you as a community are the heart of these schools as well. Also, a little bit of a personal reason. I have not getting any younger, and as I'm looking to really find another position that's going to be long-term for me, long-term meaning, you know, as I'm rounding out my time in education, where would that be? I want to be closer to my family. Family is so important. It's very clear to this community that family is important to you. Family is important to me too. And I want my family to be able to be closer and connected with what I do, and right now, they're not. We're just too far apart. My two daughters live in Wausau. I have a granddaughter, 7 years old, who is in Wausau as well. And my son is in the Twin Cities. He has a little girl, and we just found out this weekend, going to have a little boy in January. So being closer to my kids is important to me. I grew up, like I said, in Wapaka. My dad is probably my biggest fan, and I know that he will become Shawano Hawk's biggest fan as well. So it's important to me to be closer to family, to be connected to a community, and to really set some roots. So that's a little bit about me. So should we open it up, Dennis? All right. Who has a question for me? Oh, it's going to take one brave soul to be the first one. All right. I'll come to you.
So I'd really like to know, like, since you've been at several schools, what has been your involvement with community partners, specifically like technical education? Recently I toured the Watoma Technical Branch that they just established, and they're, again, right across the street from the high school, and in that particular center, the administration from the school actually is housed within that center. So it's very intertwined with the community and also the technical college. So what's been your experience with the technical college and other community partners as an administrator?
So specifically in my role as district administrator, or?
Yes, you're leading the charge as far as the connection with the partners, and what are some of the things you've accomplished with partners?
Sure. So partnerships, technical college and specifically for Columbus, we have Moraine Park in Beaver Dam, and then we also have Madison Technical College. So our kids can choose to go to either one of those. I don't currently have a leadership role in either of those other than the programs that we run for our kids, and I don't sit on any of the committees in either of those. In my time at De Pere, I was highly involved at Northeast Technical College, and I was on the manufacturing NEW, and we were on that manufacturing committee, and I also was on the financial committee for that. So I worked closely with Brooke Holbrook over there, and so Brooke and I have a great partnership. I actually still call her sometimes to ask her questions about the programs that our kids are going to, but I don't have a huge connection currently in my role in Columbus. Okay. Other partnerships. they're so vital. And as a matter of fact, where's Jenny? I thought I saw her come in. I asked Jenny on our tour to take me to the areas in town that would show me businesses, industrial, manufacturing, because I want to see and know what those companies are. And I'm feeling that's going to squeak on me if I get too close. Sorry. Because partnerships are vital to our kids, to our district, and the things that we do. So partnerships that I have worked on in Columbus is the Columbus Community Hospital. We're still working with them to try and see if we can set up things within the school and the hospital. Now, if you know, do people know Columbus? I probably maybe should have said a little bit more about Columbus. We're a district of about 1,400 kids, and the town itself, the city, is about 5,000 people. So we're a small, the district is growing steadily. We're just north of Sun Prairie, so your largest school district basically in the state right now, and it's growing like crazy. So we're experiencing some of that growth because we're just north of them. But we're still very much small town. I mean, you drive through downtown Columbus, and if you saw Public Enemy with Johnny Depp, it was filmed in Columbus. Okay, so you could step back into 1880 and you're driving downtown Columbus. So we're very small, but we experience the benefits from living so close to the Madison area. The businesses that we work with in particular are the manufacturers in the area and the ag communities or businesses in the area. So like Landmark, and we have an implement company, Kurt Hansen is one of the owners there we work very closely with, but the manufacturers, Lycos, Robinson, and EK Machine. Those would be because a large portion of our students, whether they're working in those businesses in the summer or after school, whatever it might be, through STEAM, science, technology, engineering, ag, and art, and in Columbus, we made the A stand for ag and art because we're very much an agricultural community, and it was important to them, and mathematics. So through those advisories and those partnerships, those are the connections that we have made. We've identified through the businesses, we called the businesses in, and they sent reps. We identified the skills and the qualities they wanted our students to have, not only from academic portions, but as employees. And so that's some of the partnerships that I've created. I shouldn't say created, that I've helped to work with. Okay. Next question? Yes?
Assuming you've done some research on the Shawnee School District, I would like to know, as you being an outsider looking in, what are your top 3 concerns that you address?
As an outsider looking in. Absolutely. So one of the things that I look at, and I can tell you this because it's very similar to the experiences that I've had currently in Columbus. When I was looking at budget, for me, as I look at, it's not top priority, I'm not going to give them an order, but just came as I'm doing all my research. You as a district were really steadily building a really healthy fund balance. And any auditor is going to tell a school district that you should have in your fund balance between 25 to 28%, because in the event something happens, you need to be prepared as a district. In the last several years, and I don't know the story, and it could be a perfectly good answer for that, that's reduced by about $400,000 in the last 2 or 3 years. So I just want to know, like, why did we go into fund balance? And so that was a concern for me. Because especially as a community, you're looking at possibly, right now you're just looking at plans and doing this community center, which I think is amazing, another way to connect community in the district. I want to know from our auditors, from our financial managers, sorry, I'm already saying our. No, I'm not sorry. If that's going to affect the bond rating for any future referendums. So that was a concern that I had. Another one is, and to be honest, every school district has gaps. And if any school district tells you that they do not, I want to know what that school district is, especially in the state of Wisconsin, based on these report cards. But there are some gaps, and there are some achievement levels that are concerning, specifically in some of the subgroups. And so I'd like to know what the trend is for the data on that and the things that we're working on. I'll give you a little bit of positive though as well. In those numbers, there's been some great value added scores that have been added. So that means that the district has a plan and that they've seen some increase in those achievement gaps, which is wonderful, but it just hasn't been fast enough. The state sets a goal for you, and if you haven't met that goal, then you don't score as well as you could. So it means that we're doing some things right, but I'd really love to look at how could we do some things a little differently or better. Let's see, the third. Okay, if I go with 2? All right. Thank you. Other questions? Yes.
I was wondering, how would you blend career and technical education with core curriculum in helping kids with academic career planning?
Okay. Can you guys all hear the question? Should I repeat it? Yes. Okay. How can you blend career and technical education within the curriculum? Is that correct? And what was the second part of that?
And how do you use that blend with academic career planning?
Okay. And then how do you use the blend with academic career planning? So in the last 2.5 years, 2 years, I have been part of a cohort across the state. One of the superintendents that's in the cohort it's called Redefining Ready. And it's actually a national movement, but Wisconsin through WASDA has created a group also to really look into this further. And what Redefining Ready really is about is to show that every student has an individual path and that we have to make sure that we're providing those individual paths for kids. And so it kind of really aligns to what your question is about, because how do we make sure that we're taking the core academics and making sure that it aligns within our other areas, like tech ed, like ag, like family and consumer science, those different areas, so that when those students show that they have great skills and qualities, dreams, aspirations, whatever it might be, we know and have a plan that's available for them and a path that's available for them. It's great to say, oh yeah, you can do this in you could do this in 4 years, but have no opportunities for them. Redefining Ready really makes us look at what are our academic opportunities for kids in many multiple different path areas, and to make sure that we're providing them for them. Because not all kids have the same path. And they take different ways to get there, different journeys. Redefining Ready is not just about academics either. It's about life skills and, I'm gonna forget the other one, career readiness. So when I was talking earlier about working with the businesses and the partnerships, we bring them in and say, what do we want our kids to be ready for? Because a lot of times when you talk to the manufacturers and the businesses, they say, I can teach them to work a welder. You don't have to teach them to work the welder. We can do that. As a matter of fact, we'll probably retrain them. But what about all of this stuff? Here's the skills, here's the qualifications that we need. That's what we need to do and talk to, get those advisory committees in, get those qualifications in. I'm sure we're probably already doing a lot of those things. And then attach it to what's the indicators we have for kids and how do we know when they've achieved it? Great to have conversations, but how do we measure it? Okay? Did I answer everything? Okay, great. Next question?
Have your districts that you've been a part of, have they all or none of them been one-on-one technology districts?
Okay, the districts I've been a part of been one-on-one technology. Columbus is a one-on-one. We call it actually One to World initiative. So all of our students, K through 12th grade, have a device that's assigned to them. K through 3, keep them in the classrooms at all times. The rest of the students are allowed to take them. So we have an agreement that parents and students sign at the beginning of the school year, and basically says, this is your computer to use, it's on lease from the district. Here are the, basically, if this goes wrong, I promise I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna use it for anything other than what I should and all of that. And then we allow kids to use those computers as though they were their own. We no longer have in our buildings computer labs, because every kid has a device, and they're expected to make sure that they bring the device with them when they're going to different labs. I was wrong. We have one 21st century lab at the high school, because a lot of those the computers, there's programming, et cetera, that we put on the 21st century lab that wouldn't be able to be maintained on those individual laptops that they carry.
So with that, in the larger picture, are there challenges that were maybe unexpected that come along with that?
Oh, absolutely. So even though you go over, we have our IT manager, Chet, and then he has his tech specialists who work with him, and we have parent meetings, forums just like this, and we have parents come in with their students and say, here are the things we need you to know about the computers, here's how we'd like you to treat the computers, and teachers actually do that as well with the kids, but there's breakage. It's gonna happen. And then also, sometimes parents think that it's a great device, and the device doesn't come to school as often as it should, so we have to have some conversations about that. What else? Obviously, just like anywhere, even if the computers were here in school, access, kids going to places they shouldn't go, but you have those conversations as well. I would say the most difficult was year 1 with the breakage, and then parents kind of, I think, being caught off guard that they received a bill for the breakage or misplaced, lost, because students maybe didn't say, hey, Mom, Dad, I don't know what I did with my computer, and it's been like 2 months.
So did you notice a difference in teaching methods because of the use of mobile methods?
So we are also a Google district, and so we are encouraging our teachers, all administrators have become Google certified, level 1, and working on level 2. And so we're also encouraging and doing professional development for our staff as well, which means how do we implement technology to enhance our instruction? We don't require that they use computers all the time because, but we make sure that we provide them with professional learning so that they know how they can use the computers, the laptops to enhance their instruction, to engage kids in the learning versus using it to be the instruction. Okay? Other questions? Yeah.
Just touch on safety and bullying.
Safety and bullying, absolutely. Whoever thought we'd be at this point in, I guess, society, education, where we really have to talk about safety the way we actually have to talk about it. You know that all of your buildings are locked and secure at all times, and that when you come in as parents, I'm sure, or as community members, it's just a very different, you have to have a visitor protocol in your policies, you need to make sure that everybody's following those visitor protocols, but you know that if we don't have safety in our buildings, and it's not just about the physical safety of our buildings, but it's what's happening on the inside as well. And if our kids don't feel safe, and if our staff don't feel safe, there isn't any teaching and learning that's really going on that's valuable. And so it's a priority. From my tour of the buildings today, we have really secure buildings. That was pretty evident to me. When we talk about bullying, it's about education, and you continue to educate. I'm going to say this a little tongue-in-cheek, because if you all did your research, you probably know that, and I'm just going to put it out there, life in Columbus has been a little interesting for me lately. So, social media. Wow, our poor kiddos. That's all I can say about social media. Because that's where the bullying occurs, and then it comes into the buildings, and it comes into our classrooms, and our poor kiddos just, I think back to my time, and people were passing notes, and if you found the note, then you knew it there, but now it's just spread out there for everybody to see. It's about education, and continuing to talk to kids, and continuing to provide them with that education. It's about talking to parents. It's about asking all of us to pledge to be role models, because our kids are watching what we're doing. You're welcome. Next question? Yes.
We have a lot of students in our district that are open enrolled,
Mhm.
and due to lack of financial resources, budget cuts, things like that, they don't properly receive maybe special ed services that are necessary for their academic achievement. How are you going to help students like that within our district become educationally successful?
Okay, so did everybody hear the question? Okay. I'm going to do my best to paraphrase that for you. A lot of students who are open enrolled in the district, and those students are not receiving the special education services that they should receive. Because they're open enrolled. Okay. So that would be illegal. Just putting that out there. Okay. So if you're enrolled in our district and you are a special education student, we receive monies for that. And so we should be supplying services to those students. So what I would look to do and work with pupil services director and make sure that all students who are on an IEP are receiving the services that are listed in the IEP, and get to make sure those teams are getting together and working with parents to make sure that they are being provided the services that are in the IEP.
What if they don't have a IEP prior to coming?
Then we would go through a referral process, like all other students who might be considered, or that we might have a concern that they would need services outside of what they're normally getting within the classroom. So there should be a referral process, okay? And we would start, so if a parent's concerned that the student needs services, or a teacher's concerned that a student needs other services, there's a referral process, and then we would start that process, and if the student needs an IEP, then a team would make that decision to give the student an IEP. Okay.
Off of that question, what if we are at capacity within our building, then do we turn those kids away? Okay.
Okay, so open enrollment, right? So if we've placed caps on special education, open enrollment, every year a parent has to reapply, right? If you're already here, odds are you're probably going to be able to get back in, but if we place caps on grade levels or in special education, because every year in January, the board sets caps if we're full, basically. And you can set caps in special education or on certain grade levels, depending on what the board has in their policy. And off the top, I don't know, I didn't do that much research, but we would find out. And it could be that based on the fact that we can't meet the services or we've placed caps, that student may not be able to come to Shawano. And we can talk way more in depth about that. Okay? Lots of laws around all of that. Okay? But thank you for your question. Yes?
Continuing on that question, I think part of the question was where do the funds come from?
Mhm.
The funds come from the home district, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yep. Thank you. Others? Oh, back over there. Yes?
I guess my first question is, your current position in Columbus, do they have education
They do not.
Okay. So my follow-up question, or my second question is, we have a organized educational association here in Channel School District. So in your mind, what is an ideal working relationship between an education association and students?
Conversations, lots and lots of conversations. Even though we do not currently have a education association, there are teacher representatives still for the certified staff, and there is a representatives for the support staff as well. And I meet, well, it used to be when I first started the position, I would meet monthly with them, and if other things came up, then we would meet more than that. So if they had things that we wanted to have conversations about. The support staff, we began by meeting monthly, and then we went to twice a month because they wanted to do a book study about service, and we read, the one about Disney World, and I'm not going to remember the title, sorry, but we read a book study together, the teacher reps, or the support staff reps, and then they took it into the rest of their, the support staff group as well. So really, truly, it has to be about a clear and open, honest conversations, communication all the time. If there's a concern, then I need to know about it. Or if I have a concern, I'm gonna say you, but teachers need to know about it, or whatever group that we would be talking to. For me, it's about the more feedback I can get, or the more feedback I can give, we grow as a team. And that's what we need to do for our kids and for our community. And if sometimes the feedback is maybe not what I want to hear, that's okay. How else do I grow? How else do I become better? How else do I meet the needs of the staff, of the support staff, of the parents, of the community, if I'm not willing to listen to what the concerns are? You're welcome. Other questions? You guys are giving me my steps.
Go ahead, you're first. Can you talk a little bit more about the redefining ready, where there's so much conversation about that, life skills and career readiness?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to what that individual path looks like for every individual student. At what age or what grade does that start?
Ooh, okay.
And what does that look like? Paint that picture a little bit for us.
Absolutely. So she asked me to talk a little bit more about redefining ready and what that looks like, so individual paths for every kid and what grade it would start at. So originally, so school districts like Mishicot, Chippewa Falls, I'm trying to think of some of the ones that have really been modeled after New Berlin, really we're working at the high school level. Because if you think about it, if we're asking our kids to be ready for college, career, or life, start there. And so what they're saying is that there are certain indicators that are research-based that will show a student will be more academically ready. So if they're going two-year college, tech school, if they're going four-year college, wherever they're going, here are the indicators kids need to meet that'll predict their success. For life, they have some of the same. Here are the indicators that are research-based that if kids do these things, like 25 hours, I think it's 25 hours of community service. If they give 25 hours of community service, they're more prone to have success in their community because they give back to the community. Another one, attendance, which we all know, right? So if you're going to be successful, you're probably showing up for things, jobs, that type of thing. So those are some of the indicators. And I flipped that. That's career. That's the career indicators. The life indicators, they're still struggling to create. So in Columbus, our school board, and working with the administration, we created some life indicators because we have ENDS policies, which basically here are the board's goals for us as a district in academics, in life skills, in community involvement, and I'm missing, oh, and in our strategic plan. So those, we have some for life skills, and I'm not going to remember them all, so I apologize for that.
The soft skill part of it, soft
That would-
skill aspect.
That would be in your life skills. Yeah. Okay. You asked another part to that question.
No, it says
Oh,
about
what grade level?
the grade level.
So it began in high school, but now we've set benchmarks for our kids in elementary and middle school as well. So you take first you start with the high school ones, and then you take a look and you go, okay, so what are the benchmarks for kids to be successful from elementary to get them to intermediate middle school? So they're working on 4th grade benchmarks and 8th grade benchmarks as well. And that's what we're currently working on in the cohort in the state. Okay. Hi.
How visible would you be in a building with 4 buildings and the different teachers and everything to get into the classroom and visit with the teachers and the principals and them? How you foresee it doing that?
Yep. So he asked how visible I would be in the buildings. So the goal would be to visit classrooms. I would love to be in a classroom, and I'll be completely honest with you. When I first went to Columbus, I'm going to be in a classroom once a week. That doesn't happen. So I'm not going to say a goal that it just isn't going to. But I set aside a half a day every month, and that's what I do, is I go into classrooms. And I don't have to be in there very long. I'll give you an example. So we had 1st grade reading celebration at the end of the year, and I went into there are 4 1st grade classrooms, and I was over there for 2 hours, and then I went back to the intermediate school, and I went into 3rd grade for the same time in the afternoon. I think it was so for a total of 3 hours. It's my favorite place to be. Unfortunately, I don't get there as often as I would love to be, but so I set a goal, half a day a month, to be in the classrooms. And it's not to evaluate teachers, it's to observe the wonderful things that are going on in our classrooms. Okay, you're welcome. Yes?
Oh, I can laugh. So my question, as a staff member, we've really been visionless. I'm not sure I can tell you if my goal is to just keep the graduation rate up, if it's to keep kids out of the office, if it's, I'm not sure what it is other than managing my classroom to the best of my ability. Where would you see the vision for this district 5 years down the road, that if you walked into a staff meeting, we could all tell you, this is what our common purpose is? What is that?
So it can't be Annette's vision, right? Because if it's Annette's vision, there's not going to be buy-in. And if we're going to create a vision that everybody, I'll say it this way, all arrows are pointing in the same direction, it would be a conversation that we have with staff, with community, with parents, with the board, so we create that vision together. I don't want to say because it's not me. We've done that process in Columbus. We have set 6 community priorities along with the board's ends, and those are the goals we have. We don't change. We don't shift. We haven't shifted in 3 years. We go back to the community and we say, okay, here were the action plans. Here's what we achieved. Are we still headed in the right direction, or do you think we should be going someplace else? And so far, nope, these are the priorities. These are the ones we want you to go on. And so we continue to do that. You as a staff member, your goal, your SLO, might be closely related to the vision that we have as a complete district, and then there's going to be steps that are below that. So there might be a building that has a little bit of a different goal, but the vision, all arrows are pointing toward that vision, because the kids in your building might not have exactly the same needs that are in another building. But we all have the same vision because we're all headed in that direction. So how do we all get there but still be individual enough that we can all set our sights and arrows toward that vision? Make sense? Yeah. Okay. But I'm not going to give you a vision because I want. Otherwise, you might as well just say Annette's vision. We don't want to do that. We want to create it together. Okay? All right. Yes?
We've done a lot of talk and stuff with school culture, athletic culture, and that. What are some examples of things that you've implemented at any of your schools to improve culture?
Mm-hmm. So again, I'm going to go back to, I don't implement a lot of things on my own. I really truly believe in building the capacity of others. And so for my administrative team, for teacher leaders, we have conversations and we talk about these things, but it's not Annette's plan, because if it's Annette's plan or Annette implementing something, it's not going to go very far. So again, it's shared decision-making. I want to make sure everybody understands that. So if I say I apologize, because it's really all about we. I'm a strong believer in that. Culture. So I'm trying to think of, it's really, I wish for public educators that we could let me rephrase that. As public educators, we have to find the value sometimes within ourselves for what we do. Because in the past couple of years, whatever it might be, it might not come from external sources. And I think when it doesn't, it creates this them versus us within our buildings and with our administrators or with each other, and this competition. And so in order to create a positive culture, it's really about having conversations one-on-one with staff and with my administration to make sure they're having those conversations, because the more you get to know your staff, you understand what their individual needs are and what they need from you as a leader to feel that value. It's not, none of us got an education to become rich. It's just never been that way, and it probably never will be that way, unfortunately. It's not about the money. So what can we do for our staff to make them feel that appreciation? And, you know, as a high school principal, I tried the little trinkets. They're great, but where do they end up? Right? I was a teacher. I know where they ended up. I had a drawer. All that little stuff went down in the drawer. It's about having those conversations that allow them to feel that appreciation, and then finding ways. So I'll give a quick example. And I stole the idea. Rumspash, many years ago. And I took the idea to Wapaka, and then I took the idea to De Pere, and now we do it in Columbus. To have teachers who stay within a district for a long period of time isn't the norm anymore. It really isn't. So we have service recognition awards, and you know the Chanel letters that you kids letter in? We have staff letter. So after so many years in the district, we give them the Chanel letter, and it's framed, and it's got their name on it, and it's plaqued. And after so many years, if they're there again, they get a little pin. So it's something small, but if teachers, staff, support staff, it's not just your teachers, any staff member can letter. If they're in there for that period of time, that shows pride, that shows honor to be a part of Shawano. That's just one little idea, but it's really about connections, it's about people, and making sure they know and feel valued.
So that part you answered with the staff, how about the students and the parents in the community and changing that culture? Making the students have a more positive culture.
Okay, so that would bring in some voice for kids and finding ways that they can be part of the shared decision making. I'll give an example. So through the Dane County, Columbus, our district is in 3 different counties, and a little part of it is in Dane County. So I'm a part of the Dane County Superintendent's Group, and we started an equity consortium, and we had the opportunity to ask kids to be a part of the Student Equity Consortium. And so I went into it was at the high school level, and so I went into the high school, and they were like blown away that they were getting some voice in a much broader, and they had one of the best experiences ever. But I gave them a goal along with it. So it's just not, you're going to go to this workshop and then come back and go, oh, okay. They had to make recommendations to the board about, in their opinion, what the district could do better with equity for students in our school. So there's an idea for students. I hope, okay. Dennis is kind of dancing over there because I think I'm a little over my time, but.
Probably have time for a couple more questions.
Okay. Yes.
What are the 2 or 3 things that keep you up at night thinking about public education? I mean, you spoke about the things that maybe Shawano High School would be concerning for you, but what in general with public education is really on the top of your mind?
What are the 2 or 3 things that keep me up at night thinking about public education? Not Shawano not Shawano specifically, but just in general. Number 1 would be that we are truly meeting the needs of all kids, and how difficult that really, really is. Because it really is difficult. Number 2, that our parents, that our community, everybody really understands the diverse backgrounds that are in our classrooms every day. And that our teachers need to know so many strategies to be able to teach each and every one of those students at a high level. And number 3, just because I'm living it, social media. It's a concern. It's a safety concern. I mean, there's great things you can do with social media, but I have to tell you, when there's something that's happening for security issues, it gets out there faster than I can get things out there to be, to be secure for the schools. I worry about, are we able to teach our kids and be really good role models for our kids in the use of social media? Because in our classrooms, we deal with the consequences. You're welcome. Yes?
My name is Rosie.
Hi, Rosie.
I work at the school district since 2007. I started as an ELL person.
Okay.
I lost my job in 2015. They cut my job, and I'm with a special department now. But my question is that gradually I've been having this harassment, discrimination. It was from the students, and now from the staff. Last school year. I want to know what is your point of view, or what would you do as superintendent about, because it's not only me as a staff. I have family in Shawano, they are Hispanic. I have neighbors. So I want to know what is your point of view about discrimination based on race.
What is my point of view?
What would you do? Like the one
Okay.
thing, because by intimidation, I didn't want to expose this before. But some people in the high school where I work, they know what's going on, but I want to know from you, how would you fix that?
So the first thing that every district has to have is very clear policies and guidelines. So when we have to mean what we say when we say we will not tolerate discrimination, harassment. We have to mean it, and we back it up so we can make sure that we protect our students and our staff, our community, through clear policy, and then you back it up with guidelines so that our administration know exactly the steps they need to take to be able to implement that policy. And if the policy's goal is to protect our staff and our students, then we need to make sure that we're following those guidelines. And that's a very general answer for you, because I don't know the situation, but
I just wanna know, like, what would you just follow the rules or like a process, like how to fix that problem, right?
again, because I don't know the problem, their solution.
Look into it, would you appreciate you fix it, right?
Well, absolutely, if there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. No, I don't like to consider myself a problem solver, but rather I like to look at it as I'm a solution finder or a resolution maker. Because if you look at everything as though it's a problem, right away we're taking it as a negative view. So instead, I want to look at it and say, okay, I want to investigate. I really want to find out what's going on, what's happening, and get to the root cause. Sometimes the root cause is we don't have clear guidelines for people to follow to implement the policy. If they don't know the action steps to take, it makes it difficult to implement and protect. So we need to make sure that that's in place as well. So that's my answer. But if there's an issue, if there's a problem, we absolutely are going to work with everybody involved to make sure that we find a resolution. You're welcome.
Thank you. We're going to have to wrap it up right now. We've got to stay on schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
If you want to take a quick stretch, we have some cookies and things in the back, but don't be gone long. We'll be ready for our next candidate in just a couple of minutes. Thank you.